Welcome to our performance of Moving West with Little John and Jeb by Logan Marcus. One day, 4 settlers were getting ready for their trip on the Oregon Trail.
Hey, you lazy bones! This is Little John. When are you gonna be ready?
Hold your horses, Little John.
The first few weeks of the settlers' traveling went well, but when they approached the Columbia River, things flipped upside down.
Hey, this river doesn't look all that bad. I bet we could walk across it.
Looks dangerous. How about hopping in the wagon for the trip?
Well, Jeb, unfortunately for you, my ears were plugged when you said that great idea.
Jeb let out a long sigh and shook his head. So the settlers went with Little John's way, but it would soon be proven wrong.
This isn't all that bad after all.
Told you.
Ouch!
What happened?
I just tripped on a rock and I think I broke my leg.
So Little John carried Jeb into the wagon.
Dang, you're heavy.
And dang, you are wrong.
And so the 4 of them reached the end of the river, and they continued on their way, with Jeb in the wagon and Little John walking beside.
Well, let's keep going.
So they continued on their journey, but then they came to a decision point when the trail split.
I think we'd better take that trail with no water, no shade, and the Native Americans.
Since Jeb had fallen asleep in the wagon, they had to go with crazy Little John's idea again. After traveling for a couple hours, Jeb woke up.
I am really getting thirsty.
Be a man.
But I am only 14.
So on they went, and when they were about halfway through the terrible trail, some Native Americans jumped out and demanded a trade.
We come in peanuts. Wait, how's it go again?
We demand a trade or you will die.
Jeb, Little John, Marshall, and Ernie stare at the Native Americans, but say nothing.
So what is your decision?
We will trade. What will it be then?
The 4 settlers held a meeting to discuss what they were willing to give the Native Americans when Little John blurted out, "I will give you 10 rifles if you give me a baseball card."
Deal!
What are you thinking, you lunatic?
Little John was too busy admiring his new baseball card and not listening whatsoever to what Jeb had to say. And so the 3 settlers, excluding Little John, did not get what they wanted, but at least they were still alive. It didn't stop Jeb from throwing his hat on the ground in frustration.
Well, at least you didn't offer to fight with them.
So the settlers went on, thinking that nothing else could go wrong, but they were the ones that were wrong.
Hey, I think I can get out of the wagon now and start walking.
Good!
And they walked a little bit further and built a campfire and set up the tents.
Hey, is anybody in for a couple of stories while we sit around the campfire? Totally!
So they all sat around the fire. All of a sudden, they heard a sound coming out from behind them.
I think it's a snake.
It's coming from behind you, Marshall and Ernie.
Marshall and Ernie started panicking and screamed.
Help!
The snake slithers up behind Marshall and Ernie and bit them.
Ouch!
I will help you.
Little John tried to help, but performed the wrong cure, and Marshall died shortly after.
Poor Marshall and Ernie. They were good men.
Well, you're the one that killed them.
Well, sorry.
And so the settlers continued on, and they reached Oregon without any more damage done. The end.